This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, July 3rd, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. We'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at September corn up 4 3/4 at 422 3/4. August soybeans were up 8.5 at 1062, and September Chicago wheat was up 3/4 at 564 3/4. We had a number of export sales announcements out here this morning. 150,000 metric tons of corn to unknown destinations for 24. 225,000 metric tons of soybeans to unknown destinations for 24, and 195,000 metric tons of meal to unknown, 45,000 of which was for 24, and 150,000 of that was for 25. We had weekly export sales, another solid week for corn, 532,700 on the old crop, 940,200 on the new crop, which is above the upper end of the range there. Soybeans in line, 462,400 on the old crop, 239,000 for new crop there. And wheat was better than expected there, 586,000, which was the top end of the range. Soybean meal, another good week, 306,200 on the old crop. The new crop was well above the top end of the range at 397,400. And for bean oil, expecting net cancellations there, and ended up positive at 11,800 there for the old crop. Nothing sold on the new crop. Non-farm payrolls were out this morning, better than expected there as well. Up 147,000 in June. They were looking for a number closer to 110,000, so that turned the stock market a little bit higher here. It's currently up 60. Good morning, guys. We're going to wrap the week here with the markets being closed tomorrow for July 4th. What we know, we got a big speech tonight in Iowa. President Trump's going to Iowa, 7:30 Central, touting some big news. It looks like they've got the votes in the House this morning. They should have a vote here later this morning, early afternoon, on the bill. And so looks like President Trump's scheduled to leave Washington and take a victory lap, it feels like, tonight on getting that bill passed through both the Senate and the House. So we'll see what comes out there. Weather, nothing new on the weather front, really. I think we're more focused here on headlines and what's going on. So I guess with that, Justin, let's wrap up the week. Give us some thoughts, and we'll throw around the room.
Yeah. So we talked about, yesterday that just not interesting, market needing a catalyst. I think with, the speech that, we talked about coming today, see what happens. So there's an anticipation of, some positive things for farmers, some trade deal talk, more talk yesterday about, a deal with Vietnam and some agriculture purchases. So it's kind of one of those things we've been waiting on, right? The July 9th deadline, basically bottomed. We pressed the market down one day after first notice day. But just kind of that time of year we've been talking about where, you get through first notice day, you've got 4th of July. Sometimes the markets turn around those dates. We'll see if this holds. There's, if you were a big short or you're an end user that needs to buy stuff, it'd be a good time to do it, right? Going into this kind of unknown time period and the markets are depressed, margins are good for a lot of people, cheapest corn in the world, all those things that we talked about. It makes sense that you get a, kind of a rally, short cover rally, get some purchases here. We saw, obviously some export sales daily announcements today. We had good sales numbers. Argentina went through kind of dumping a bunch of supplies before their, export tax hike. So all this kind of makes sense. You know, now what, right? So we've talked about, you know, if you get these kind of rallies, you know, make sure you have good areas that you want to sell, you know, especially if you're in the areas that are looking really, really good on your crop. You know, looking at 470, 473 for red July corn. So next July's corn, you know, like I keep saying, you know, between here, 490, get some sales on if you have good crops, you know, the extra bushels that you need, probably not a bad idea. And then let this market play out a little bit, you know.
Oh, very good. Ben, fantastic shirt this morning, buddy. You're winning that game.
Dan,
And
big,
little bit of
tomorrow's,
optimism, man. What's on your mind?
tomorrow's a big day, Dan, and it's an honor to be able to celebrate the Declaration of Independence. So,
Amen.
you know, I like the price action. You know, we're looking at an outside week higher close, a combination of things kind of working together. Ultimately, I think we can go as far as weather models will allow us. A nice kick would find out something positive on trade deals today. But I still think that, you know, we're just getting back into our range. It feels super, you know, super encouraging. Um, what Justin stated is absolutely true. You have to have uh, some, you know, some level-headedness and rallies like this. It looks good. It feels good. If we come in on and we disappoint, and then we see the weather models start trending back towards a little bit wetter, I think we might have a little sideways for a minute, pull back, but it feels good and it looks good. Weather markets are, you know, they can be very erratic. But I think that we pummeled corn down so much, we didn't get vindicated on more more stocks or larger planted acres. And that third thing is we are off to a good start with a crop, which we still, you know, I think the expectation is that we still have a pretty good crop. And because of the acres that we planted, we're going to have to handle a lot of bushels in the fall. So, you know, it encouraging to see what's going on. But I think that just looking going into weekend, thin market, anything can happen. But so right now it feels good. And hopefully we can get some further support for the weekend. So
Very good. Dustin, put a bow on the week for us here.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's we'll see what President Trump has to say tonight on the speech, and that, you know, we are going into a critical 3-day weekend for forecast changes. We've talked a lot about how weather has been great to date, and forecast is pretty decent, especially for Iowa. But for Illinois, it has been getting a bit dry, so that's just something that can, like, I mean, one of the things that may change just opinions if they bring in a bunch of cool and wet weather over that 3 days of forecast changes. That's obviously going to have an impact on Sunday night negatively. You know, if they take it out, if they take the rain out that's currently in there for the next 14 days, you know, that's a 3-day weekend that I think will have some extra attention to it as well too, which is a critical time of the year, and it has been pretty hot. As far as like you know, corn and bean action, this is also post first notice day, so I don't think that's a big surprise to see that. It's another chart where we're now 15 cents up off that first notice day low. You know, is it related to first notice day or is it related to Trump's comments? I mean, either way, it's still a first notice day bounce right now, and I think that there is some natural pressure that's relieved from the market. There's always a headline associated to every one of these rallies, but so we have that kind of past us. And one thing I would note is that beans kind of failed to keep up with corn on this latest move, so we're back down to a 2.4 to 1 ratio. If weather is not favorable for the rest of the summer, we actually think beans may have less to give on the balance sheet and may have a more inelastic demand. So to see that ratio 2.4 again, you know, that to Justin's point about maybe hedging some corn and keeping your upside in beans, that's where my focus is. There's lots of ways to do that creatively. And yeah, I mean, it just depends on the area you're in. But I would think if it turns off dry from here and out, and we have $2 crush margins nearly on the board for new crop, We've got 50% oil share. Beans could actually have a pretty good story if they had just a slightly below trendline yield even.
Very good. Ryland, real quick here, cutout isn't really falling apart for cattle, which is a good sign in spite of packer margins improving. And we're now down $12 in 7 days off the highs for the pork cutout there. So why don't you give us a few thoughts as we head into the long weekend?
Yeah, we kind of had a wild ride yesterday. We started lower on the cattle side. August slipped below the 50-day moving average at one point, and then everything turned around. Cattle, feeders, hogs all kind of started to rally all at once yesterday. So, I think there's a lot of optimism that some trade deal details are going to come out and, over the weekend, maybe into next week. But yeah, the fundamentals are starting to soften up a bit. Beef prices definitely mixed. I think at least if you look at the chart, just feels like cattle market doesn't really know what to do. We baked in this discount relative to cash. We saw cash trade 224 yesterday in the south, 230 in the north. So it's down steady to down 1, which isn't as bad as the market was expecting. But overall, it just seems like the tone is really soft. It's starting to kind of chop around, move a little bit sideways. And like I said, it just feels like the market doesn't really know what it wants to do here with this discount baked in. So I think we're looking for good news. The trade's already long. It's ready for, some better news here, but it just seems like we're not getting it. So it just seems like we're going to kind of taper off into the weekend here. And on the hog side of things, yeah, cutout has just been excessively weak. The board, I think, is reflecting that. We haven't quite tested some of that intermediate areas of support of the 50-day moving average, but belly's down $22 so far this week. So, you're just taking a lot of wind out of the sail, and I think hopefully we see some demand start to surface at this rate to kind of slow things down. But otherwise, it does feel like you got a pretty heavily long managed money position in the hogs. It seems like the downside risk is still going to be pretty elevated right now. So, I think producers can take full advantage of, some of the better margins that they see out in the back end of the market. But it just kind of feels like we're starting to see that little bit of a seasonal down here, and it's starting to manifest itself.
Very good. Appreciate the update there. So a couple things to note here. Again, very important speech. President Trump will be speaking in Iowa this evening, 7:30 Central. So I know all eyes will be glued there as it relates to our markets and things that he's going to announce there. Markets will be closed tomorrow. We will reopen Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central. So we will have a Sunday night open, and then obviously going to Monday there. Appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. Keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, we appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live at 8:15 Central Time. Hope everybody has a great break here and a happy 4th of July. Stay safe, and we look forward to talking to you again on Monday morning.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.